Earth's hidden warfleet smashed through Kazon lines, railgun rounds liquefying alien bodies, as the Empire's slave masters watched their grip on the galaxy evaporate under the guns of their human thralls. But this victory was far from certain mere days ago. Wayne Robertson, a grizzled human veteran of the last war, now smuggled contraband through the seedy Kazon fringe, his battered freighter limping between worlds. He wiped grime off his freighter's LiDAR screen and leaned back in the torn pilot seat. A flickering light caught his eye, an incoming transmission from outside the Empire. Wayne decrypted the rebel message with shaking hands. He collapsed into his chair, mind reeling as the impossible text blinked on screen. Earth's war fleet was real. Humanity's last hope hid for decades under the Kazon's noses, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their advanced human warships could break the Empire's grasp on Earth, if someone could get them the signal to attack. But as Wayne stared at the message, a new ping rang out. A Kazon patrol cruiser bristling with weapons was bearing down on his rusty freighter to board and inspect it. Wayne's heart raced. Capture and a brutal interrogation were inevitable if the Kazon discovered his secret message. The grizzled veteran gritted his teeth. A choice lay before him: his comfortable life smuggling Kazon contraband while humanity suffered, or a chance to help free his species from decades of oppression under the ruthless Empire's boots. Wayne yanked the controls hard, rolling his battered freighter to the side as bolts of Kazon plasma seared past. His shields were failing, the hull dented and punctured from the patrol cruiser's relentless assault. He slammed the throttle forward, pushing the aging engines to their limits. The ship groaned in protest but surged ahead, slowly pulling away from the pursuing Kazon vessel. "Come on, hold together," Wayne muttered through gritted teeth, his knuckles white on the controls. A final burst from the engines propelled him into a dense asteroid field, the rocks providing cover from the Kazon's sensors. Wayne wove through the tumbling boulders, the edges of his ship scraping against the jagged surfaces. Finally, the patrol cruiser broke off pursuit, unwilling to risk navigating the treacherous field. Wayne slumped back in his seat, his heart pounding. The console before him flashed with warning lights indicating the extent of the damage. He needed repairs, and fast. Scanning through his contacts, one name stood out: Zortak, a rogue Kazon mechanic he had worked with in the past. Wayne set a course for Zortak's last known location, a seedy spaceport on the edge of Kazon territory. He found the mechanic in a dingy workshop, hunched over a sparking engine. Zortak looked up as Wayne entered, his eyes narrowing. "Wayne," he grunted, "it's been a while. What brings you to my humble abode?" Wayne gestured to his ship through the grimy window. "I need repairs, and I need them fast. I've got the Empire on my tail." Zortak leaned back, crossing his arms. "And why should I help you? The Empire's not exactly fond of me either." Wayne hesitated, then decided to take a chance. "I've got information about a secret human fleet hidden from the Kazon. If I can get to them, they could change everything." Zortak's eyes widened. He glanced around, then lowered his voice. "A human fleet? That's huge. But the Empire's got something big planned, too. A weapon that could destroy entire planets." Wayne's stomach turned. "A planet killer?" Zortak nodded grimly. "The Emperor's been pouring resources into it, wants to use it to crush any resistance once and for all." Wayne's mind raced. The secret human fleet might be the only thing standing between the galaxy and total Kazon domination. "I need to find that fleet. Can you help me?" Zortak considered for a moment, then nodded. "I'll fix your ship, but I want something in return. Get me off this rock. I'm done with the Empire's cruelty." As Zortak worked on the repairs, Wayne pored over star charts, plotting a course through Kazon-controlled space. With his ship patched up and a newfound ally at his side, he set out to find the resistance. They navigated through treacherous asteroid fields and skirted around Kazon patrols, the tension mounting with each close call. Finally, they reached the coordinates from the intercepted transmission. Wayne's heart sank as he stared out at the empty void before him. "There's nothing here," he whispered, despair creeping into his voice. Suddenly a massive shape shimmered into existence, a sleek human battleship decloaking before their eyes. Wayne's calm crackled to life. "Wayne Robertson," a deep voice addressed him. "This is Admiral Jax Harper of the Earth Resistance Fleet. We've been expecting you." Wayne's jaw dropped as a familiar face appeared on the screen. "Admiral Harper, but how—" Harper smiled grimly. "Your father was part of the team that designed our fleet's cloaking technology. We've been hidden right under the Kazon's noses for years." Wayne's mind reeled. "My father? But he disappeared when I was a child." "We had to protect your family," Harper explained. "The Kazon would have stopped at nothing to get their hands on your father's knowledge." The Admiral leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Wayne, we need you. Your skills, your knowledge of the Empire's inner workings. Will you join us? Will you help us free humanity from the Kazon's grip?" Wayne glanced at Zortak, who nodded solemnly. He turned back to the screen, a newfound determination burning in his eyes. "I'm in, Admiral. Let's take the fight to the Kazon." Wayne's head spun at the revelation about his father's involvement. He staggered back, his breath catching in his throat, but there was no time to dwell on the past. The Kazon's planet killer loomed on the horizon, a spectre of death threatening to engulf the galaxy. Wayne looked Admiral Harper in the eyes and nodded firmly. "I'm in. Let's take those bastards down." The Admiral wasted no time. "We need intel on that weapon. I'm sending you and Zortak to infiltrate a Kazon shipyard. You'll have a team of our best operatives backing you up." The infiltration was a tense affair. Wayne, Zortak, and the human operatives donned Kazon worker disguises, blending into the bustling shipyard. They split up, each tasked with hacking into different sections of the facility's database. Wayne's fingers flew over the console, his heart pounding as he sifted through layers of encryption. Suddenly his screen flashed red. The weapon schematics appeared, and Wayne's blood ran cold. It was nearly complete, a monstrous device capable of snuffing out entire worlds. And there, in glaring text, was its first target, a densely populated human colony. "We've got it," he hissed into his comm. "But we need to move. They're planning to test it soon." Alarms blared through the shipyard. The team had been detected. Wayne and the others raced through the corridors, ducking and weaving as Kazon guards fired at their heels. They barely made it back to their ship, leaping aboard as plasma bolts scorched the hull. Back at the secret fleet, Admiral Harper pored over the stolen data, his face grim. "We have to act now. We'll strike at the heart of their empire. Take out that weapon before they can use it." The plan was audacious. The bulk of the human fleet would launch an all-out assault on the Kazon capital, aiming to destroy the planet killer. But they needed a diversion, something to draw the Kazon's forces away. Wayne stepped forward. "I'll do it. I'll take a team to their main supply base, plant some explosives, make them think we're hitting them on multiple fronts." As the fleet prepared for the final battle, Wayne and his hand-picked team slipped away. They infiltrated the supply base with practiced ease, setting charges at key structural points. But as they made their escape, a figure stepped out from the shadows. "Wayne?" Spicker sneered, leveling a blaster at him. "I always knew you'd turn traitor." Wayne's former contact had sold out to the Kazon. Rage boiled in Wayne's veins. He launched himself at Spiker, knocking the blaster away. They grappled on the floor, trading blows with brutal force. Wayne felt ribs crack, tasted blood in his mouth, but he wouldn't stop. Couldn't stop. With a final, desperate effort, he wrapped his hands around Spiker's throat and squeezed. The traitor's eyes bulged, then dimmed. Wayne staggered to his feet, his body screaming with pain. "The charges," he gasped. "We need to move." They raced through the base, alarms wailing all around them. Wayne's vision blurred, his wounds taking their toll, but he pushed on, the thought of the human fleet driving him forward. They barely made it to their ship before the explosives detonated. The supply base erupted in a ball of fire, the shockwave throwing them clear. Wayne slumped in his seat, his blood staining the console. "Get us back to the fleet," he mumbled, his words slurring. "We've got a battle to win." Explosions rocked the Kazon supply base, flames leaping into the sky and shockwaves rippling through the ground. Wayne gritted his teeth against the pain that seared through his battered body as his fighter squadron raced towards the Quezon capital. "All ships engage the enemy," Admiral Harper's voice boomed over the calm. "Focus fire on their command vessels." The secret human fleet surged forward, a mass of gleaming metal against the stark backdrop of space. Quezon ships swarmed to meet them, plasma cannons blazing. Wayne wrenched his fighter into a sharp dive, narrowly evading a barrage of enemy fire. His squadron fell in behind him, locking onto the massive shape of the planet-killer weapon. "There it is," he growled. "All fighters, begin your attack run." They plunged towards the planet-killer, weaving through a hail of anti-aircraft fire. Explosions bloomed around them as Quezon fighters swooped in to intercept. "I'll draw their fire," Wayne barked. "The rest of you take out those shield generators." He peeled away from the formation, his fighter dancing through the chaos of the battle. Quezon ships dogged his every move, their cannons seeking his destruction. Wayne's hands flew over the controls, his mind racing. The planet-killer loomed before him, its shields shimmering under the onslaught of his squadron's attacks. But it wasn't enough. The barrier held strong, mocking their efforts. A desperate plan formed in Wayne's mind. He knew what he had to do. "Squadron, focus on those fighters," he ordered. "I'm going in." Ignoring the protests of his wingmates, Wayne gunned the engines and aimed his fighter directly at the planet-killer's reactor core. He would ram it, sacrifice himself to destroy this abomination. Quezon fighters swarmed around him, their weapons hammering at his shields. Warning lights flashed across his console, his ship shuddering under the impacts. Still, he pushed forward, his eyes locked on his target. The planet-killer filled his view screen, its shield a shimmering wall before him. Wayne's finger tightened on the trigger, ready to fire his last torpedoes in a final, defiant gesture. Suddenly, the shield flickered and died. Wayne blinked in disbelief as Zortak's voice crackled over the comm. "Wayne, the shield is down. Now's your chance." The rogue mechanic had come through. Wayne wasted no time. He launched a full volley of torpedoes, watching as they streaked towards the reactor core. The planet-killer vanished in a blinding flash, a sun born in the heart of the battle. The shockwave slammed into Wayne's fighter, sending it tumbling end over end. Around him, the Quezon fleet fell into disarray, ships scattering before the might of the human onslaught. The secret fleet pressed their advantage, targeting critical systems and command ships. Wayne righted his fighter, his body screaming in protest. The battle raged on, but the tide had turned. "All ships push forward," Harper commanded. "We end this today." The human fleet's weapons fell silent, the triumphant cries of victory fading into a tense hush. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Harper stood rigid, his face ashen as the Quezon Emperor's image filled the screen. "You have won nothing," the Emperor hissed, his eyes burning with malice. "I have a second planet-killer, even more powerful than the first. Surrender now, or I will unleash it upon Earth itself." Harper's hands clenched into fists, his mind racing. To surrender would mean condemning humanity to an eternity of servitude, but to fight on would risk the annihilation of their homeworld. He bowed his head, the weight of the decision crushing his spirit. We surrender." The words tasted like ashes in his mouth. As the human fleet prepared to lay down their arms, Wayne's console blinked with an incoming transmission. Zortak's face appeared, urgency etched in his features. "Wayne, listen to me. I've found the location of the second planet-killer. You have to destroy it before it's too late." Wayne's heart raced, a chance, slim as it might be, to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. He gathered a small team of volunteers, each one ready to lay down their lives for humanity's freedom. As they prepared to embark, a figure stepped from the shadows. Wayne's breath caught in his throat. It was his father, older and weather-beaten, but unmistakable. "I'm coming with you," he said, his voice gruff. "I've been working with the resistance, trying to make right what I did wrong." The team infiltrated the heavily guarded facility, fighting their way through legions of Quezon soldiers. They breached the control room, the second planet-killer looming before them, a monstrous shadow of death. But the Kazon Emperor was waiting, a cruel smile twisting his lips. Did you really think it would be so easy? Wayne's father stepped forward, his face a mask of guilt and sorrow. Wayne, I've been working with the Emperor. I thought it was the only way, the only chance for humanity to survive. Wayne stared at his father, disbelief and betrayal warring in his heart. How could you? The Emperor laughed, cold and harsh. He sees the truth, boy. The only path for your species is submission. Wayne's father shook his head, tears glistening in his eyes. No, I was wrong. Freedom, not servitude, is humanity's destiny. He lunged at the Emperor, a fierce struggle erupting. The Emperor's blade found its mark, a mortal wound seeping red. But with his last strength, Wayne's father grasped the planet killer's controls, overriding the safety protocols. Forgive me, son. His voice was a fading whisper. Let my final act be one of defiance. The planet killer shuddered, the reactor core destabilizing. Wayne and his team fled, the explosion consuming the facility, the Emperor and the man who had sacrificed everything for a chance at redemption. In the chaos that followed, the Kazon Empire crumbled, factions tearing at each other like jackals. The human fleet seized the advantage, striking at the Kazon's heart. Wayne led the charge, his father's memory a fire in his veins. And so humanity won its freedom, but the price was steep. Worlds lay in ruin, countless lives lost to the ravages of war. As Wayne stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars, he knew that the scars would linger, that the road to recovery would be long and hard. But he also knew that they would endure, they would rebuild, and they would remember the sacrifices of those who had fought and bled and died so that others might live free. A single tear traced down Wayne's cheek, a silent tribute to a father lost and found, to a galaxy forever changed by the indomitable will of the human spirit. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.